And now, the tale of the spiders.
Stuart Dolman was back in Dolmanville. For 20 years, he'd been hidden away in the jungles of South America, and strange stories had come to the little town about his activities. Some said he was the great white priest of a tribe on the Amazon. Curious neighbors had watched him go through a savage ritual and heard him speak strange words. Even his hired hand told a most unusual story one night in the village store. I seen him, I tell you. He stood in the room making funny sounds, talking some heathen language. Then spiders come scurrying toward him from all parts of the room. Yes, sir, spiders. Big ones, little ones, black ones, and brown ones. They crawled up his legs. He picked up some in his hands. He talked to 'em and petted 'em. Then he said some more words, and the spiders left, went back to where they come from. I seen it with my own eyes. While few of the villagers believed Eben's story, the gossip reached the ears of Stuart Dolman's brother Bruce, who went to call on his long-missing relative.
What's this I hear about you charming spiders?
Quite a trick if you can do it. Stuart, have you forgotten the position we Dolmans hold in this town? All this strange talk about you has got to stop. Well, as soon as I collect my share of Father's will, I'll go back to South America, and you'll never see me again. It'll be at least a month before the estate is settled. In the meantime, why not come and live at my house? I'll be glad to have you. Besides, it'll put an end to all this silly gossip. Well, Bruce, that's mighty nice of you. I'll move up to the old mansion this very day. While this gossip was of small consequence to Bruce, there was another matter more important. It concerned the inheritance their father had left the boys. Stuart couldn't be put off forever. He must be paid his share sometime. Now, Bruce loved money, loved it more than anything else, and he was determined that his brother would never return to South America with his share of the fortune. He'd get rid of Stuart, slowly and deliberately, and keep the money all for himself. He worked out his plan. Each day he managed to place a tiny dose of poison into Stuart's food. Gradually, Stuart lost strength, until he became so bad he was forced to go to bed and remain there. One evening, while Bruce was sitting at his brother's bedside, the sick man asked him, "Bruce, ever since the first day I came to live with you, you've been poisoning me, haven't you?" "Yes, Stuart, I have." There was a long pause. The room was silent. Bruce smiled at the dying man. "In a few minutes now, it'll all be over, and you'll be dead." And Father's fortune? Exactly. You should have stayed in South America with your savages and your spiders. You'll not live to enjoy your money. I think I will, for no one suspects I've been slowly murdering you. Why couldn't you kill me quickly? Why have you made me suffer this way? To kill you quickly might have aroused suspicion. I had to protect myself, and I've done it well. I've covered every trace. The dying man closed his eyes. His brother sat staring into his face, hoping this was the end, staring like a god of avarice and evil. Again, Stuart slowly opened his eyes. He spoke. His words sounded like a prayer. "Sedna, Eustrel, mother of all spiders, help me to die. Help me to be avenged." You can't frighten me, Stuart. You'll die, and that'll be the end of it. Stuart's face relaxed. The pain left. Stuart Dolman was no more. Bruce listened for a heartbeat, then drew a sheet over his brother's face and left the room. He failed to notice a tiny black spider come from under the bed and scurry out of the room. On the evening of the funeral, Bruce sat in his study adding up the profits of his act when Eben, the gardener, appeared. "Well, Eben, what do you want?"
There's something I got to talk to you about.
All right, out with it. What is it?
It's spiders, Mr. Dolman. The garden's full of 'em.
You can buy some spray and get rid of 'em, can't you?
That's just it. I've been spraying 'em all afternoon, but it don't do no good. For every one I kill, a dozen new ones seem to spring up.
Where do they come from?
I don't know. I never seen nothing like it in my whole life. The shrubs is just full of 'em. The trees are a mass of 'em. There's millions of 'em in the tool house. No matter where I turn, there's spider webs. No matter what I touch, there's spiders. And they don't run from me. They just seem to stand and stare at me.
Eben, I think you're going crazy.
No, Mr. Dolman, I ain't crazy. I told you the truth. I'm telling you this, if it gets any worse, I will go crazy. I just know I will.
Weary and baffled, Eben left. Annoyed, Bruce Dolman went back to his last column of figures and was about to close his book when a tiny spider crawled to the center of the page and stopped. A reminder of the crime he, Bruce Dolman, had committed. Angrily, he slammed the book shut, crushing the spider, and went to bed. Next morning after breakfast, Bruce went to the garden to see if what Eben had told him was the truth. He found him working at a flower bed.
Well, where are all the spiders you told me about?
They're gone, Mr. Dolman. I can't find a single one of them.
I don't believe there ever were any spiders.
Yes, there was, Mr. Dolman. Look in the shrubs and trees. You can see the webs they spun. Thousands of webs, but not a single spider can I find. Just can't understand it.
Bruce couldn't either. All day he stared at the empty webs, wondering what had become of the insects. That night, Bruce Dolman sat in his study. Bruce Dolman was afraid, for with the setting of the sun, the spiders had returned to their webs. The garden was full of them. The trees were covered with them. It was impossible to walk a foot without brushing against them. It was impossible to walk outdoors without soft, clammy spiderwebs wrapping themselves about his face. Perhaps they'd go away with the daylight. If they didn't, he'd get rid of them. He'd hire every man in the village to tear down their webs and clean them out. He rose from his chair, crossed the room, and opened the door. Across the doorway was an enormous web, and right in the center sat a spider, a huge spider, brown and hairy. He sat there with blood-red eyes, staring unblinkingly at Bruce Dolman, eyes that were filled with the lust to kill, eyes filled with hate, eyes cruel and pitiless. Bruce stepped back from the door, picked up a book, and threw it at the creature. The spider leaped at the man and missed him by inches. That leap seemed like a signal to innumerable other spiders. Millions of them came crowding through the doorway, sleek black ones, dull brown ones, striped and banded ones, smooth ones, fuzzy ones, and on they came toward Bruce, slowly and steadily. Back to the corner of the room he went. Go away, I'll kill you, every one of you. Panic overcame the man. I'll kill you, I'll kill you, I'll kill you! He kicked at the nearest insects. 4 of them jumped and struck their mark. They bit and clung, then a dozen, then 100, then 1,000. Blinded with fear and pain, Bruce struck at them, fought them, kicked them, crushed them, but on they came, on and on. He stumbled and fell. Spiders swarmed over the prostrate man and covered him completely, a seething mass that writhed and struggled, that bit and stung. Soon, the man lay still. But for many hours after life had left his body, the crawling mass of spiders took their fill. They had tasted blood. When daylight slowly sifted into the room early the next morning, there was little left of Bruce Dolman. No one could understand what had killed him, for not a single spider was found in the room. And to this day, the people of Dolmanville are still wondering what had happened to Bruce Dolman.
Happy haunting.